The risk of nuclear war is real. Russia's foreign minister issues a chilling warning. The message is echoed in Asia. Kim Jong Un says Pyongyang will use nuclear weapons if provoked. Also ahead, sold for $44 billion. Elon Musk snaps up Twitter, triggering a free speech debate. And the power of language, how one organization is helping migrant workers adjust to life in Taiwan. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov says the possibility of nuclear war is real. He was speaking as Russia's invasion of Ukraine enters its third month. In an interview with Russian state television, Lavrov also said that by supplying arms to Ukraine, NATO is engaging in a proxy war with Moscow. James Chater reports.
This is what remains of Mariupol's Azovstal steelworks, where remaining Ukrainian soldiers hold out against Russian forces. On the quiet streets nearby, residents of the besieged Ukrainian port city try to make sense of the destruction.
Все потеряли. Что нажито было за всю жизнь, все потеряли. А так вот, теперь мы не знаем, что делать и как, с чего начинать.
As Moscow's invasion of Ukraine enters its third month, Russia's foreign minister Sergei Lavrov has said the threat of nuclear war is real. And despite continued Russian shelling reported across Ukraine, Lavrov maintains that Russia doesn't intend to escalate the conflict.
Вся пятерка постоянных членов Совета Безопасности ООН в привязке к планируемому началу обзорной конференции договора о нераспространении ядерного оружия сделала заявление такого же содержания. Все 5 лидеров подписались под констатацией недопустимости ядерной войны. И это наша принципиальная позиция. Мы из нее исходим.
On social media, Ukraine's foreign minister said Russia's talk of nuclear war is designed to scare the world from supporting Ukraine, which he believes means Moscow senses defeat. Last week, Washington confirmed $800 million of military aid for Ukraine. Moscow says that and other NATO support means it's effectively in a proxy war with the alliance. But despite Russian warnings, the White House says US President Joe Biden could soon unveil more assistance.
I expect he'll have consultations and conversations with military leadership and, of course, leadership from the State Department over the course of the coming days. I expect it will be something later in the week and expect it will be a longer-term package or proposal.
The US Defense Secretary has arrived in Germany to rally European support for Ukraine. But in besieged Ukrainian cities, survivors pick through the debris of their homes, far removed from the international talks that could decide their future. Damon Lin and James Chater for TaiwanPlus.
North Korea's leader Kim Jong Un has vowed to strengthen the country's nuclear forces. His words came during a speech marking the 90th anniversary of the North Korean army. Crowds gathered in Pyongyang on Monday night for a military parade showcasing an array of modern weapons, including ballistic missiles. State media quoted Kim as saying he wanted to develop the country's nuclear arsenal at, quote, maximum speed. North Korea has already conducted 13 rounds of weapons tests this year, despite international economic sanctions. In one of the tests, the country launched an intercontinental ballistic missile for the first time since 2017. Taiwan has slashed the quarantine time for people who have had close contact with COVID patients. They have cut it from 10 days down to 3. People arriving from overseas will still have to quarantine for 10 days. The move comes amid a surge in cases. Taiwan reported 6,339 new cases on Tuesday. Health Minister Chen Shizong has explained the new quarantine rules for people who are contact traced. He says the new 3+4 rule means 3 days of quarantine followed by 4 days with lighter restrictions. You also have to test negative for COVID before leaving the house.
快筛阴性可外出工作、采买生活的必需品。那外出全程佩戴口罩。 那禁止下面的行为，就餐厅内的用餐、聚餐、聚会，前往人潮拥挤场所，与不特定的对象接触。
Beijing has started citywide COVID testing, affecting 20 million people. That's following a rise in cases in China's capital. The move has triggered fears of a Shanghai-style lockdown and led to panic buying online and at local stores. Shoppers have been emptying supermarkets of vegetables, meat, instant noodles and toilet paper. In Shanghai, supermarkets are stepping up deliveries to struggling communities that have now been in lockdown for 4 weeks. Elon Musk, the CEO of electric car company Tesla, has struck a deal to buy Twitter for $44 billion. The news has triggered a vigorous debate on the changes that Musk could make, with some concern that it will affect free speech. Jaime Ocon has the details.
$44 billion. That's how much Tesla CEO Elon Musk has agreed to purchase Twitter, which is one of the world's most influential social media platforms with over 400 million users. He says the move is in support of free speech and plans to privatize the company. Musk has continually criticized Twitter's filtering of tweets and posts, calling out the company's algorithm for a lack of transparency and for prioritizing advertised tweets from big companies.
I think that's really been the starter for going after Twitter. But ultimately, it's really trying to shake up social media. I mean, he feels like it's a fragmented platform. He could significantly improve it. But there's growth challenges ahead. Twitter's been an underperforming platform for the last decade. And this is definitely Musk betting 20% of his net worth on Twitter. Definitely a risky move.
A risky move, possibly not just for Musk, but for the platform's users. Critics are concerned that a change in leadership would mean the reactivation of many accounts currently banned. Musk has often expressed his preference for temporary bans instead of permanent ones, even tweeting that he hopes that his worst critics remain on the platform.
Based on his public behavior in the past, that his concept of freedom of speech is a very limited concept of freedom of speech for people who are already in positions of power. And does not have a great concern or really even a great understanding of freedom of speech for people who are routinely denied that freedom.
Regardless of who is in charge, U.S. officials maintain that responsibility must be shared between Twitter and its users.
The president has long been concerned about the power of large social media platforms, the power they have over our everyday lives, has long argued that tech platforms must be held accountable for the harms they cause.
Musk has promised to hunt down fake accounts and verify all humans on Twitter. Now, the platform's users are waiting to see how the world's richest man affects change on one of its most popular of social networks. Kama Xu and Jaime Ocon for TaiwanPlus.
China's foreign ministry has hit back at reports that it plans to build a military base in the Solomon Islands.
所谓中国在所罗门建立军事基地的说法，完全是少数别有用心的人编造出来的假消息。我注意到，美国和澳大利亚指责中所安全合作框架协议缺乏透明度。 但是美英澳三边安全伙伴关系协定，恰恰是不公开、不透明的暗箱操作。
The statement follows comments by Australian Defence Minister Peter Dutton. He described China as incredibly aggressive as it expands its influence on other nations. China signed a security deal with the Solomon Islands earlier this month. Beijing says the agreement does not contain a military component, but countries like Australia, New Zealand and the US are concerned that it could lead to China stationing armed forces in the region. Taiwan is home to more than 600,000 migrant workers, the majority from Indonesia. Often they serve as caretakers. As they adjust to a new life in Taiwan, language can be a challenge. One organisation is looking to help them settle in. Jaime Ocon has this story.
Seeing each other in person for the first time since the pandemic, these migrant workers from Indonesia are headed back to class. For the next 6 months, students like Fatma will be learning Mandarin to better adjust to life in Taiwan. Fatma has been a caregiver here for 7 years And this is how she spends her one day off a week.
我第一次来从印尼的过来，我不会说话，不会讲话，好像都很困难，不会说跟老板，然后幸好有140，可以我读书，可以我上课，然后可以教我怎么看台湾的讲话。
Taiwan is home to over 680,000 migrant workers, the majority of whom come from Indonesia. And while Indonesian men dominate sectors like manufacturing and fishing, Indonesian women often take jobs as caregivers, which puts them in daily contact with the local population. For the last 7 years, language classes like this one have been organized by a group called 140, so named because 1 in every 40 people in the country is a migrant worker.
那个时候，140看见说，我们希望让移工在台湾有一个学习的机会，来好好的学习语言，然后认识朋友。除了认识同样的移工朋友以外，他也认识很多台湾朋友，跟台湾人有更多的交流。那也希望他们在140可以有很好的学习跟体验。那他回去他的自己的国家的以后，他也会记得说，在台湾是一个很好的回忆。
140 also offers free Chinese lessons online, with over 70,000 active users. And the group hosts cultural events to give migrant workers the opportunity to socialize with locals. But beyond the socials, migrants like Nadia are just happy to learn. She has worked in Taiwan for over 10 years and is now one of the more advanced students in the class. She hopes that she can put these lessons to use even after she returns home.
因为我在这里都喜欢中文，也学习中文，所以以后如果回印尼，我想要开那个中文的补习班，这样才能我学好的中文，以后可以教给别人，教给需要的人。
Over 20,000 migrant workers have graduated from this program since it started in 2015. And like those before them, these students are optimistic that a proper grasp of the language will help them feel less isolated and more empowered for life in Taiwan. Prisma and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up, we'll introduce you to a glassblower from Ghana who's on an environmental mission. Details after the break.
Cela devait être impossible. On ne pouvait pas devenir président sans jamais avoir été élu auparavant, sans aucun parti politique. Et pourtant... Comment a-t-il gagné? Comment cela a-t-il été rendu possible?
My name is Leo Seawald, in Chinese, Li Hao, 他们叫我好哥. Welcome on my boat. 其实我们到绕河的时候，离101大概2公里，所以我们真的可以开到台北的中心。Wow, it's a little past 3 in the morning, and we are at Keelung's fish market. 看起来很开心的那个鱼是什么？
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. The Foreign Correspondents Club of Hong Kong has suspended a prestigious journalism award. That's due to fears they could be persecuted under the territory's sweeping national security law. The annual Human Rights Press Award recognises top rights-related reporting from around Asia. The club's president said in a letter that they are axing the awards due to, quote, significant areas of legal uncertainty. One of the organisations set to win several awards this year was Hong Kong's Standard News. National Security Police forced that website to close down last year. A new survey by Taipei-based NGO Doublethink Labs is measuring China's influence in foreign countries. Their China in the World Index is the first report to look at that influence across multiple sectors in society. Our reporter Ryan Ho-Kilpatrick spoke with Doublethink Labs director Puma Shen. He asked how susceptible is Taiwan, which is ranked the country 9th most influenced by Beijing.
I think media is the most influenced domain in terms of Chinese interference. And I think the reason why I think lots of people expect that Taiwan could be #1 over here, but because we measure the effects of Chinese interference and because we got lots of resilience, we got civil society and our governments, they are kind of resilient to Chinese interference. So which means that we don't have that much effects here in Taiwan. And that's why we didn't rank #1 over here. I mean, in terms of the traditional media, because of anti-red media movement, means that there's a less interference for the traditional media. However, if you like social media, China is really good at disseminating all this disinformation on social media. And also they're really good at approaching not just the traditional media itself, but the individual journalists. So if individual journalists join the training or receive pressure from China, it also counts as the Chinese interference. And that happened a lot here in Taiwan.
You look at exposure to Chinese influence, pressure from China, and the effect of that pressure. So I was wondering, is there any link that you saw between those three? Does more influence necessarily result in more tangible results?
We expect that if you're exposed to Chinese interference, and it means that you'll get more pressure, but it doesn't happen in each domain. So which means that, for example, in economy, if you have more connections, if you're exposed to Chinese influence, and you got more pressure. But in the military domain, it doesn't happen. So it really depends on which domain we're talking about. However, I mean, even that there are lots of countries like Japan or the US receive lots of pressure from China, it doesn't mean that they're going to change their behavior or if there's anything change on their side. So that's why we also measure the effects of all these countries.
And in terms of different regions of the world, did you see any interesting trends in terms of where China is concentrating its influence? Is it focusing more on regional neighbors or trying to win influence in the West?
I think it really depends. For example, if you look at the Western country, I think China focuses a lot on academia and also think tanks. But if you look countries like Cambodia or countries there in Africa, they didn't really focus on academics, but rather on other side of economics or military stuff. People often criticize there are lots of organizations or even journalists or experts or scholars, they kind of underestimate or sometimes overestimate or sensationalize Chinese interference. So I think it's time for us to quantify this kind of interference and let the world know precisely in which domain, in what field they have been affected by China. And then we'll have, because in each indicator we'll have the proof for that. So that's why everybody could be on the same page and we can discuss Chinese interference with scientific facts.
Now, how much can you take before you snap? A new dance performance uses rubber bands to look at the impact of stress on people's lives. Leslie Liao has the story via our partner station, Radio Taiwan International.
How do you quantify pressure's toll on the human body? Well, in this performance, rubber bands are used as a metaphor for life's many stresses. Dancers are pulled in various directions before they are snapped by the rubber bands. Here, stress isn't something that piles up and accumulates. It's tangible pain you can feel the moment it comes up. When pressure is translated into immediate pain you can feel, how might that affect people's lives? This latest work is called Hooke's Law, and it's the brainchild of choreographer Huang Yufen. Huang says she chooses to use rubber bands throughout her performance because they are something that can elicit fear from people. She says the anticipation of pain from a rubber band is something that can push people to emotional limits. Rubber bands take on a different role in the show when female performers come on stage. The rubber bands are used to manipulate dancers' actions rather than to create pain. Rubber bands here symbolize the pressure society places on women. Huang says this part of the performance is taken from her own life experience. She says women are often expected to sacrifice their own careers and dreams to conform to society's rules. Hook's Law is still under development. It's scheduled to premiere in late May in Taipei. However, in the lead up to its debut, the show promises to rethink the way people look at stress.
The only professional glassblower in Ghana is doing his part to reduce glass waste and foreign glass imports by turning recycled materials into artwork. Yijing Huang has the story.
44-year-old Michael Tete is the only professional glassblower in Ghana. He makes vases that are displayed in art galleries in Europe and America. These exquisite works of art were all born from scrapyards and landfills in the capital, Accra.
We don't have a collection process, and we don't want the broken glasses to be flowing around like that, or they will dump it in a landfill. And if we are using recycle, we can get money. Yes. As we want to recycle, recycle is cheap. You get, sometimes I buy the material from Accra, but it's not too expensive for me to buy, so that I can be able to use it, and after using that I can pay my staff.
Tete is a passionate artist whose concerns extend far beyond his personal achievements. He has hired some young people in need of a job and a creative outlet in his hometown, Odamas, Krobo. Janice Ofe is one of the apprentices who saw glassmaking as a game changer.
We are hoping maybe support will come and establish our business so that we can employ more youth. In our community, there is no, the youth, they don't have work to do. They are smoking, they are blah, blah, blah. So if we establish this job, they will get more work to do and they will not sit down in the house.
For Tete, training young people in Ghana means more than just creating job opportunities.
My heart is to train young Ghanaians, both men and women, and that they can also learn this job as their professional work. And we can grow Ghana. We will not go to any country like China to maybe buy any material from that we want to use in Ghana. I want to make Ghana beautiful.
One vase at a time, a colorful wonderland dreamed up by a determined glassblower is gradually taking shape in Ghana. Yijing Huang for TaiwanPlus.
Tea is one of the most popular beverages in Taiwan, but how do you keep your tea nice and warm? Today we meet an artisan from Miaoli, central Taiwan, who has been using her bamboo weaving skills to create unique tea warmers for 5 decades.
我今年81岁，苗栗县石潭乡文水种木村人，做茶树做了51年了。我最开始做园兵啊，细个汉细啊吼，阿爸又要做迄个阿北婆的料，阿北婆又做个17枚个吊带的啊，吊带细细杂个吊带的，啊都干都唔好，然后就灵感出来。 cái吊带就做得可以铺落咪吼，嗰啲就保温的东西啊。我阿公去山上保温茶、保温饭，做好些就阿伯啊就带茶啦、带饭拿去田上去做些用，哟，到下就头拿出来正经咯，还烧烧哦吼。都带一开始就做辛苦，我就头的蛋糕，头的硬硬细细杂的，姊妹又是布袋姊妹按太极啊，当冇细料，天天的做啊。 因出力金棒啊，姊妹啊，因出力，无来唔会出起来，来机会速度慢做诶，看我慢慢，速度慢慢。每一道人买来吼，带去出国送人学，带去日本去啦、美国啦、德国哩，等每一道人带去。 送人做电路啦，做礼物亲好，个亲来用的假生也唔怕。牙个果然是天然的东西啊，哎呀，伊当然要用天然的东西，用叶胶哦，个颜色木叶浆，它不是变得金金哦。啊，孙的来就条好，其他认真也3万好，其他作为一道材料。啊，孙的还有上个将来啊，我就真欢喜啊。
Animals at Kaohsiung Zoo in Taiwan's southern city of Kaohsiung were treated to a violin recital over the weekend. The violinist was a 6th grader at a local elementary school. She played tunes such as Amazing Grace in front of the animals' enclosures. One audience member, a Formosan black bear, appeared to be intrigued by the music. The young musician was given special permission to play for the animals while the zoo is closed for renovations. Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. We leave you with images of the fireworks festival in Ma Gong Island, which is the biggest island of the Penghu archipelago in the west of Taiwan. For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, please download the TaiwanPlus app. Stay safe and see you next time.